sir. Good morning, Mr. Venkatesh Kumar. Mr. Venkatesh Kumar. Am I audible? Good morning, Mr. Sanjay. Am I audible to both of you?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Good morning. I said good morning to both of you. You didn't respond. So
Good
thank you.
morning, ma'am.
Thank you. Yes, better we start the session. Very good morning to all.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma. So welcome to Maritime Economics Session 2. In last class, we have discussed base for economics, like what is economics, what the fundamentals, what are there in fundamentals of macroeconomics, and what is business cycle, what are the structure of market, what are the types of market is there. So these are the things we have discussed. In this second session, we are going to discuss about what are the factors, that is, what is the demand and supply, and what are the factors affecting the shipping industry's demand, and factors affecting the supply of shipping industry, and what is the shipping cycle, and what are the costs involved that is related to the shipping industry, and what is elasticity of demand, and what is elasticity of supply, and what are the types of elasticities there. Everything we are going to discuss in this session. The one thing before I start I want to convey is, in this session, in session 1, just we have seen what is the base of economics. This session we are going to relate everything with the shipping industry. What is the role of this economics in shipping industry, and what is the influence of this economics in shipping industry, we are going to discuss in this session. For that, I would like to share the PPT. Fine. Did I share the PPT, ma? I think I have shared the PPT. So first topic, we discuss about what are the factors affecting the shipping, that is factors affecting demand for shipping. Yes, sir. So this has been segregated. That is, the freight market has been segregated into two. One is demand and one is supply. And some of the factors which demand will get affected, that is the demand side, is the world economy, seaborne commodity trades, and average health, and random shocks, transport costs. So these are all the factors which affect the demand. See, this demand and supply is very, very important for not only for the shipping industry, uh, for all the types of business, for all the type of market. The market will be decided depends upon the demand and supply. First thing, will see to it what is the demand of that product or demand of that services, whether we could able to meet that is what is a supply, available supply, and whether we could able to meet the supply according to the demand, or else what is the level of demand, what is the level of supply, whether it is going hand in hand. So we have to see to it. If demand is more, the supply is less, then will be the problem. If there is more supply and there is no demand, you will say without the supply, if there is if there is too much of a supply but there is no demand also, there is a no use of making supply. So we have to, if you are running a business, whatever industry it may be, you have to see to is what is the demand side of that product or services or industry, or the supply side of product or services or industry. So what is the demand side and what are the factors affecting the demand side in shipping, and what is the supply side and what are the factors affecting the supply side, we are going to discuss. First, we concentrate on the demand side. The first factor affecting the demand side is world economy. This world economy is most important factors which influence on demand for shipping. See, the world economy, it will generate the most demand for the sea transport. See, for example, importing of raw materials or a trade of goods and services, everything will be depends upon this world economy. So, and also the growth rate of sea trade also follows closely with the growth of world economy. See, if economy is good, the sea trade also will be good. If the growth will be there, the growth of trade and the growth of world economy will go hand in hand. So there are different aspects of world economy that will comes that will brings the change in demand for this shipping or sea transport. First is business cycle. That is, the occurrence of business cycle plays a major role when we talk about this world economy. That is, increase and decrease in the rate of economic growth. See, these fluctuations of work through into the seaborne trade. So because of that only, the demand for this sea transport can grow smoothly. And also, we need to consider the long-term trend relationship between the two factors. One is the seaborne trade and number two is the growth of the world economy. So depends upon these two only, we have to consider the relationship between the trade and the growth. And there are other factors also. One is that is which makes changes. See, world economy is okay. What are the factors related to this world economy will influence or will judge this demand of shipping industry? One is domestic sources of raw materials. See, this domestic sources of raw materials, it may be forcing the user to turn the foreign suppliers and industrial growth. See, because of this industrial growth, if any, that is, if the industry grow as like the growth of the world economy, the growth of the trade will be there. So same like that, the growth of industrial development also, that is the growth of this sea trade is also depends upon the industrial development. If the industry develop, then the sea trade also will develop, and the economic activities will also responsible for this. See, and the status of the country. See, the status of the country, what is the economic activity that the country is going for, and what is the status of that country in the world trade or world economy plays a major role when, if any decline of any of the country will affect the host country also. So we have to consider when we are considering the, or when we are analyzing the demand for the shipping trade or shipping industries. And the occurrence of economic shock is also very important, which have the direct influence or which affect the world economy of the sea trade. See, this differs from cycle because they are unique, and they are very particular. That is, they are precipitated by very particular event. So we have to consider the economic shock also. The best example is, if sudden changes in world economy, even this evergreen problem in Swiss Canal, evergreen vessels in Swiss Canal, it affected the whole economy. The activity which taken place in any one of the country or any one of the area, when this trade has been taken place, that may affect the whole country or trade of whole country, or else it may give the economic shock to the all other country. So this is the relationship between the world economy when we are talking about the demand for the shipping industry, that is ship trade, sea trade. That is, we are not, that is, this economy is out of our control, where we are not responsible for whatever happens in the country, that is country in and around the world where we are having the trade with. Next factor is seaborne commodity trade. That is, the effect of individual commodity trade on the demand for the sea transport falls into short-term and long-term component. See, the short-term component or influences of like seasonal effect. But in the case, like for example, seasonal means throughout the year that goods cannot be transported from one country to the another country. For example, only during the period of harvesting only this agricultural commodity will get transported. Some of the goods which is very seasonal, fruits or vegetables, when they are demanded to that particular period only, they will be that will be transported. So this is one thing, and both of them have a significant impact on the demand for shipping services, because during a short term, like medium growth of demand and the employment opportunity for that ship related activities will be considered. And the most important is the development in a particular commodity of trade. See, for example, the growth of sea transport or any need of, see, nowadays they are all very much, all the countries, they are very particular in getting the vaccination and all. We can say this is also some of the seasonal effect of this sea transport. See, during this world, if the world is facing any any problem all over the world, then we could expect this sea transport, not only the sea transport, but mostly in sea transport also the sea transport will come or will be demanded. Okay, so that is what they are telling, that the particular commodity trade will give the different growth trend from the world economy. That is, maybe that particular industry may not be demanded before, but because of some situation like this, it may create a sudden growth on the demand of that commodity or demand of that services like that. Okay, so change in any supply of commodity. See here, the change in any supply of commodity will create the demand for that services. The change in any production technology will also influence on demand for that. And the change in any relocation of processing of plant will decide the demand for that product or the services. Okay, so this is the relation between relation of this seaborne commodity trade with the demand. How far this seaborne commodity trade will create the demand, it will affect or influence the demand for shipping industry. And next factor we'll see average hull. That is, demand for sea transport depends upon the distance over which the cargo is moving from one country to the another country, right? So the if the company that is, if the transport has to be, it also depends upon the size, hull is the size of that vessel, we can say. So the need of the commodity and the average size of the hull will decide the demand. See, it is very normal. If it is very big in size, then it can be used for 2 or 3 times a year, like that. But if it is not available that much of facility, we have to make a move of frequent movement will be required. So it is also depends upon this average hull capacity. And next is transport cost. See, many of the development in sea trade depends upon the economics of the shipping operation. See, raw materials will only be the transported for distant sources into the cost of the shipping operation, and that can be reduced to the acceptance level or some major benefit to obtain the quality of the product. See, this makes the difference with the transport cost or of the particular industry. See, for example, that is improved efficiency of the ship or the vessel. In olden days and all, where they are not having that much of a technological advancement, and they don't have even in passengers vessels, they would have left some of the space for the commodity transportation and all, and rice, millets, and all other things may be transported transported through this passenger vessels. But the commodity like oil, gas, and all, which is a risky factor that cannot be transported through this passenger vessels and all. For that, they have required the particular advancement in transporting maybe the vessel type. See, for example, all the commodity, even in road transport, all the commodity cannot be transported as like that. See, like for any agricultural goods, not that much of preventive measures is not required. But in the case of oil or gas, we should be very particular. And if it is any perishable item, that is, if it is required, refrigeration is required. So if it is required, refrigeration, that is that is availability of refrigeration is also required. So same like that in transport cost, that is the bigger ship and effective the cost which is incurred for making available of all these services or advancement will also influence the demand of the services or demand of, or we can say it will contribute to more for the growth of the international trade. See, if all other countries feels that this particular country, for example, if India have all these transport facility to transport oil or gas for their usage, then definitely we will be demanded. Okay, so this is also one of the reason, that is this transport cost is also one of the reason for demanding, that is what to say, when we are deciding about the demand of the product. So next is political event. The next factor which influence the demand of shipping industry or ship trade or whatever it may be is a political event. That is, any political development or any changes in a political aspects or unexpected changes will take place in a demand also. Any new rules, regulations may affect all other country. That is, maybe sometimes this political event we can refer to the localized war also. See, for example, 5-6 months before, we had war between India, that is, had war between India and China. So with that, we had some, you all know that all China product was restricted to transport to India. That is, we have banned all China made product. Even some of the social media applications has been banned. So because of this political changes, the demand for that product or commodity or the services will get affected. See, some nationalization of foreign assets is also one of the reason. And see, the reasons like, see, the best, one more example I want to talk is the Swiss Canal problem. That is 1 month before the Swiss Canal issue, that is now, still now, that company have to, that is cases going on in Korea, like they have to pay, that company which is belongs to the Japan, they have to pay some amount, that is some dollars of as a fine. So that will affect the world trade, that will affect the demand of the commodity or the demand of the services. So this is the relation of the political events and the demand of the demand of the product, commodity, or the services which is related to the shipping. Am I clear? See, next factor is elasticity of demand. See, elasticity of demand is nothing but it is a responsiveness of a quantity demanded to the change of price. See, we all know that in simple term, we people will purchase more if the prices is less. See, for example, if any of the product commodity, any of the product prices rupees 10, we used to purchase more. The demand of that particular product or commodity will be more. But if any changes, sudden changes in price, like if the price got increased to 10%, that is 10 rupees, 20 rupees, if it is changes shifted from 10 rupees to 20 rupees, if 100 people is purchasing that product when it was at 10 rupees, then it may goes down, the demand of the product may goes down to 75 or 50 if price increases to 20 rupees. The same time, if the prices level goes down to 5 rupees, if the demand of the product is 100 customer, then it may lead to increase of demand. So many people may demand the product, though the price level gone down. So it may goes to 150 or 200 also. So when the prices increases, the demand goes down. But if the same level of supply has been made, definitely it is a loss for the company. If the demand is less, the supply will also. Sometimes what happens is, in the time of, in order to create a false demand, they will stop the supply. The best example, what can I give for you is petrol. If the petrol charges increases overnight, it will be available in the petrol bulk, but they will stop the supply. They will stop the supply to increase the demand. Sometime in block, if that is in block, they will get the same commodity by giving the highest price. So this is the example for creating the artificial demand by reducing the supply of the commodity. So there is the elasticity of demand. The demand can be extended or it can be reduced, depends upon the price. So there is a relation between the demand and the price, and there is a relation between the supply and the demand of the product. So this is the relation between the price, that is elasticity of demand, and the demand for that shipping industry. That is the availability of alternate transport mode. It will also decided. See, if there is if I feel that shipping trade cost high, then if there is the availability of alternative mode of transport, then I may switch over to train or airlines. If it is not available, whatever cost you decide, I have to pay. So the availability of alternative also plays a role when we talk about this elasticity of demand. And also the quantity of the service provider. See, if the quantity of the service provider is high standard, then also the demand will get increased. And also when the demand extend to the larger time, then we have to adjust over a period of time. So the income is also one of the major problem when we talk about the demand for that services. See, for example, if the country could not that much sufficient good in spending more cost on this sea transport, if they could not get that much of income through the sea transport, then they have to decide whether they have to go for the sea transport or they have to go for this any other mode of transport. So these are all the some of the reasons which may influence the demand of the shipping industry or shipping trade. So when we are talking about this demand, elasticity of a demand for the shipping industry, the alternate mode, the services provided, the time which over the adjustment, and the actual income or any changes of the income during the demand will all everything will get influenced when we talk about the elasticity of demand of shipping or trade or shipping industry. And next is business competition. Yes, this is well known that if you have competition, if there is high competition, then if there is if the demand for that specific shipping industry or shipping services is highly influenced by the competition within the shipping industry or any other mode of transport, then the level of quantity of services will get affected. It will decide the how frequency the services is required, and it will also we have to consider how speed in delivering the goods from one shipping industry to the any other shipping industry, or else what is the cost I incurred for shipping industry or any other industry, or else what are that is efficiency I have, whether I could able to have a free competition of the market, or whether any restrictions, or whether I could have a very good economy of sale. Everything I have to consider when I talk about that is the competition will be decided because that is out of these factors. So I have to consider when I talk about the demand. Just like that, I cannot say there is no demand for my vessel or demand for the shipping industry. When I go for that, I have to decide about all these factors. So these are all the factors which decides the demand side of the shipping industry. Now we move on to the supply what is supply and what are the factors this supply get affected when we talk about that is the shipping industry, the growth of shipping industry. See, we are talking about the economic level of shipping industry. So with that, what is the how this demand and how this supply side will excuse me. The demand and supply side will act as a factors when we're deciding the growth of this particular industry. Next, we'll move on to the factors which affecting the supply side of shipping. That is, the supply side of the market can be represented by the ship that carries the cargoes. That is, the nature of development of that particular vessel or cargoes will decide about the supply side, that is availability. The supply will which means the supply is availability of vessels or availability of cargoes, availability of services. It's considered as a supply of shipping industry. So the supply side of the market is represented by the ship that carry the cargoes. Okay, so now some of the supply side is affected. See, some of the factors which affect the supply side is first factor is the world merchant fleet. That is when we are going for contracting or expanding my vessels, or if I'm about to bring new types of vessels, or the design of vessels and the types of vessels I am bringing as a company, as a service provider, it depends upon the supply of vessels or cargoes is highly depends upon what types of vessels I have, what designs I have, what new things I'm going to implement with that vessels. Everything will depends upon that, depends upon the company. And see, for example, if the company is highly expanding, keep on expanding, see, obviously as a customer or as a service receiver, we always expect some new things to be developed by the people or developed by the service provider. So the supply of the vessels will be depends upon the development made by the development made by the service provider. I can say the demand will also have an influence on this factor. See, we will move on, that is competition. In competition itself, when we are discussing about the demand, we also discussed that competition. So how this competition will get decided, because of, it depends upon the development, it depends upon the invention of new things, will decide the competition. So the supply is also, see, for example, if actually that service provider is highly demanded, they have to expand the company. If the customer, as a customer, if the customer is not is receiving the service on the time of need, definitely the customer will shift on to the competitor's service or competitor's product. So for that, if they found out they are demanded, they have to increase the supply by going for expansion or bringing up of new things in the market. So this is a relation of this is a reason, or this is a relation of world merchant field when we talk about the supply side of the shipping industry. And the next factor is the fleet productivity. That is, this maybe depends upon the uses of vessels. See, for example, during that is the transport capacity of each and every individual vessels maybe depends upon that is can be provided during the particular period. See, when they are when they are required, they will be provided. So the productivity level of the merchant fleet is also very much important. That is, if they are in the position to increase their productivity by increasing their manpower or by making use of the available resources, will talks about, that is, will decide the supply of that commodity or supply of that vessels. See, for that, for example, sometimes the demand will be good. Because of the demand, the supply, that is, when the supply will be good, will be good when I could able to supply the commodity which is required by the customer. When I increases the productivity, when I increases the number of unit manufactured only, I could able to supply the commodity. So the fleet productivity is very, very important. So when we talk about the fleet productivity, again, just like that, I cannot increase the productivity. I have to invest more when I increases the productivity, when I increases the supply. So the cost incurred should also be considered when I go for increasing the fleet productivity. So the supply is depends upon the fleet productivity level also. And the next factor is the shipbuilding production. That is, when there is a span of time between the placement of order and the actual delivery of time, then maybe the vessels range maybe up to the 4 years. See, again, I'm telling, I am predicting that I was demanded. So in order to meet the demand, I'm increasing the productivity to meet the supply. But it is not, it cannot be made overnight. It takes some time. For example, building ship vessels cannot be made within a month or a year. Minimum, it may take 2 or 3 years for a vessel. It depends upon the technology they use. But they have to see to it after 4 years, how will be the economy, how the product will be demanded. That should also be decided. Okay. So this is the role of shipbuilding a production, which talks about the supply side of the shipping industry. And next is scrapping and losses. See, the counterpart of this shipping building is reduced by the fleet capacity. That is, the primary factors, that is the demolition of vessels or any other factors like market or scrap prices or any financial situation of the owners will play a major role when they are deciding whether to scrap the vessels or not. See, in case I cannot decide, I cannot make my decision as like that to build a ship or to demolish a ship. See, if I go for scrap, I'm not sure about that vehicle name. I came to know that one of the two-wheeler which was manufactured with the scrap of the ship. I'm not sure which, I forgot what type of two-wheeler it is. If anybody know, participants, anybody know, you can answer. That is the two-wheeler which is an existing model. It was made out of the scrap of the ship. So anybody know what it is, what two-wheeler it is? Okay. Actually, I forgot the name. So they have to decide the as a fleet merchant. They have to decide whether they have to go for scrapping, whether they will get benefited, what loss they have to face when they are going for scrapping and all. They have to decide it. And next is freight revenue is also, that is a supply is also decided by the revenue. See, if there is no that much of revenue the organization or the fleet is getting, there is a correlation between the earning of a fleet and the amount invested that is taking place in a particular market. On the particular market or the particular period of time, if the fleet management could not make the return on investment, definitely they may have to face the loss. So the supply is also, see, sometimes they may be demanded, but as a customer they may not be, because of some other reason they may not able to pay that much of that is that much of amount which makes a revenue for the freight. So if they don't get as a fleet management, if they could not make the revenue, they could not invest on expanding or building up of new fleet and all. So if that could not be possible, they could not meet the supply. If they could not meet the supply, the demand will be high, the supply will be low, then there is a chance of the customer shifting from this product or the services or commodity to the any other product. So we have to consider all these factors when we go for deciding the supply side of the shipping industry. So we have decided what is demand and what is supply, and what is the factors which affects the demand and supply side of the that is shipping services that we have discussed. Now we move on to the next topic, shipping cycle. Okay, we can say shipping cycle market, that is a shipping market cycle or shipping cycle. So what is shipping cycle? The shipping cycle is an economic concept that explains how shipping companies and freight charges respond to the supply and demand. See, we have discussed what is demand and what is supply, but this shipping cycle concept will decide how the shipping industry have to respond to the subsequent demand and supply. That is, how to balance the supply and demand will be decided through this shipping cycle. Okay, that is, it examines how and why ships build up in sea transit port, and the cycle also seeks to explain what affect the selling price of the ship fleet and what type of ships will sell during the slow business period. That is, it will decide what can be done, and what are the factors affect all these shipping price or shipping fleet, and everything will be decided. And this the shipping markets are decided by the rate, and which can be move ups or downs, or sometimes it may be remain unchanged. So this shipping cycle will talks about the fluctuations of all these factors. Okay, then see, when we talk about this shipping cycle, it can be classified into 3 cycles. One is a seasonal cycle, short-term cycle, and long-term cycle. When we talk about the seasonal cycle, the fluctuation occurring within 1 year. If it is fluctuations because of any of the reason, maybe because of the price, because of the demand of the product, as we discussed of demand for the seasonal foods or seasonal commodity, that fluctuation may occur within a year itself. So if it happens, that is, if that what to say, fluctuation happens within 1 year, we can say it is a seasonal cycle. And if the fluctuation taken place between the years of 3 to 12 years, then we can say it is a short cycle. Okay, again, 3 to 12 years may not be the seasonal effect or seasonal demand of that product. Maybe because of some economical changes, we can have this cycle, this short cycle. And this long cycle or trend cycle is approximately go for 50 years. Like it is a long-term plan. The development of a country, development of an economy, it got planned, then it should be a long cycle. So the exact length of short and long cycle, it is not constant. It may be change also. Okay. Then when we talk about, we have to consider, we should not, we need not to consider the seasonal cycle or long cycle or trend cycle. Why? Because seasonal cycle we can meet. This long cycle, we are not sure that whether my company will exist for 50 years, whether I will exist for 50 years. We cannot predict that. But always we should concentrate on the short cycle ranging from 3 to 12 years. Why? Because we are sure that my shipping industry will be exist, will definitely. Yes, ma. Did anybody ask anything? Did anybody ask anything? I heard some. Okay, fine. So I'll continue. Fine. We need not to consider the seasonal cycle or long cycle. So we concentrate on short cycle. That is, it is varying from 3 to 12 years of stages. See, of years. So in this short cycle, it has been divided into four stages. That is, the shipping cycle has been divided into 4 stages, where rough changes, recovery, peak, and collapse stage. See, in the first stage, where the low freight rates will that is the first stage of shipping cycle, is called rough stage, and excess in capacity characterized as rough. Ship begins to accumulate at the trading ports, while others slow down shipments by delaying their arrivals at full ports. That is, the least efficient vessels will be there, the low demand and the excess supply will be there. That is, we can say that decreasing in this stage, the cost of operating cost will get decreased by increasing that is by giving a excess in supply of services and services for the low demand. See, we can say in initial stage, when we start the new business, it's quite obvious that the demand will be low only, but we will increase the supply to make the customers to stay there. That is, taste the services provided. So this is the first stage in shipping cycle, and the second stage is the recovery stage. See, the recovery stage is the second stage of shipping cycle. In this stage, the supply and demand move towards equilibrium, meaning both supply and demand level will match each other closely. That is, in introductory stage, the demand will be low, the supply will be high. In order to create the familiarity of the services, and in order to attract or to get the new customer, the supply will be more. But in the second stage, this is the stage where they would have got so many customers. So the demand and the supply will go in equilibrium stage. Here, the demand will also be same as like supply. It means that the new customer has come for their services. In first stage, they don't have the customer, only they are doing the supply. But in the case of the second stage, they got the customer. So because of that, their demand for that services is slowly increasing. So how the curve of demand and supply will be there in recovery stage? In recovery stage, it will go in equilibrium. So it obvious that is, it is quite nature that the service provider, if the service provider see that there is a demand for their product, slowly they will increase the price, that is freight charges will slowly get increased. So raising up of freight charges will take place in recovery, where increases of demand moves to supply, and it will reach the equilibrium stage. Okay, so that is called recovery stage. And next is peak stage. If that is a third stage, that is a third stage where the shipping cycle, third stage is a peak or plateau. We can say it is a plateau stage. At this point, the shipping freight rate becomes too high and often double or triple the amount of fleet operating cost. The level of supply and demand are almost completely equal. Yes, now the it is quite nature, no, the customers, once they are comfortable in using the services or using the commodity, they won't switch over to the any other competitor product. Somewhere they may ready to invest more on getting the service from the particular fleet. So the freight charges will be too high in the case of uh, in the case of a peak, where this market of that commodity or that services will be too high, where in even when we discussed about this monopoly market and all, where there is no competition, where the customers does not have any choice of making or purchasing the product, the price will be more in monopoly market, where the market leader will fix the price. They, whatever the market leader fix it, the customer has to pay. They don't have the choice of moving to the any other product. That will happen in the same in the case of peak period. So the demand curve for supply and demand will be equal. Yes, they won't create, that is, they won't compromise in supplying. They will increase the demand, same like that they will increase the supply also. So this is the peak stage. And of course, that is good. How long this customer will pay? How long this competitor? By looking at this, a new management may come, the new vessels may come. Why don't I earn? Why only that particular fleet is earning? So in this for fourth stage collapse, the stage of shipping cycle collapse occurs when the supply levels begins to exceed demand. Okay. Freight rates begin to decline during the collapse. Shipping containers or fleet begins to accumulate in trading ports once again. That is, it means that the customer will stop going for that fleet. So the demand will be less. It may be because of the demand will be less, or else by keep on increasing the supply, the demand of the product or demand of the services may goes down. So because of that, maybe because of the excess of freight rate, this may lead to go for this declining stage. See, all the product or all the services, once it reach the saturation point, it tend to decline it. Somewhere in it is also depends upon the market. In the monopoly market, it keeps it is a risky, it will be in saturation point itself. It won't reach the declining stage suddenly. But in the case of oligopoly or perfect market and all, perfect market, where they would get the choice of going for other service provider, definitely once they reach the saturation point, it will tend to decline. The demand or supply curve will tend to decline, especially the demand curve will tend to decline. That will happen in the case of in the stages of collapse in the shipping cycle. Am I clear? Okay, so that's all with what to say, shipping cycle. The role of, then we move on to the role of cycle in shipping economies. Yes, of course, the ups and downs is depends upon the market they have, the demand they
Excuse
have.
me, ma'am.
Yes, ma.
Excuse me.
Yes, ma.
Madam, after the end of the session, will you share the PPT? Because it will be helpful for us to write the examinations.
Yes, sir. I cannot personally share. I already sent to the institution. You can
Okay.
approach them to get this PPT. I'm not sure whether I have the rights to share personally.
Okay, madam.
Okay, I'll consult with them. I'll
Okay.
explain with this. During this break, I'll confirm and tell you, sir. On 5 minutes break, I will be giving no.
Okay, madam.
That I'll make a call to that institution and let me come back to you, sir.
Okay, madam. Thanks, madam.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Yes. So, role of cycle in shipping economics, that is the market cycle or the driving force. Yes, of course. We have to decide. There is the economy is depends upon the demand and supply. So the demand and supply is depends upon the shipping cycle. So end of the day, the shipping cycle will decide the economies. So it will act as a heartbeat of the shipping market out of all the business. Okay, so that's all with shipping economies. Now we move on to the cost, types of cost available in shipping industry. That we'll discuss after 5 minutes break. Now it is 9:53. We'll come back and meet at 10 o'clock. Yes. Yes, we'll continue the session. The next topic, what we are going to discuss in this session is the cost. The cost, what are the cost incurred? That is a cost analysis of shipping industries. So to run a business, that is to a shipping industry, what are the costs incurred for that? Again, we are talking about we have discussed about the demand of this shipping industry and supply of the shipping industry, and some of the factors we have discussed, but I feel this cost analysis also one of the factors. This cost analysis will talk about the efficiency. For example, in supply and all, the factors determining the supply of the ship trade, one of the factor is where the efficiency of the shipping industry to expand the business or to provide new things in the market. So for expanding that, the supply is depends upon the competition. The competition is depends upon the new things or new invention, or the new things, new invention is depends upon the revenue what they get. The revenue is okay. The revenue is also the factor, and apart from that revenue, the cost which they can incur. It is not just like that what I am getting all is profit. There are different factors to be analyzed, or the cost what there is a revenue what I'm getting at the task to be allocated for various sources or various factors. Apart from that only, I have to decide the efficiency of the shipping industry or the fleet management. So in producing a commodity, a firm has to employ an aggregate of various factors. Yes, as I told, just like that, I cannot say that I'm going to expand my business. I cannot say that. Various factors has to be considered, like the land availability, availability of labor power, that is manpower, labor, and capital what I invest, and is there any space of being an entrepreneurship? Is there economy is supporting to start the business or to expand the business, or all these resources is supporting me to expand the business? Is a question mark. Sometimes the economy will give the space for the development, but they may not, the availability of labor will be there. I have to import the labor from various countries where I have to invest more on the labor factor. Sometimes the labor will be available in host country itself, but the land, the technology may not be sufficiently available in the host country itself, where I have to borrow the technology from any other country, where I have to invest more on them. Sometimes the technology will be available, the human resources to use the technology may be available, but I may not be in the position to invest more on these things. See, technological development and making the people, that is training the people towards that technological changes, it is not an easy case, where this industry have to invest more. See, for example, now nowadays most of the vessels is going for automation, not 100% automation. It is not like 100% replacing the human resources. Maybe 60-70% of automation now is taking place. See, the person who worked before 30-40 years before, now they should update themselves. If the industry want to, this is the shipping industry want to update the things, they have to introduce the new course to make them to develop to fit into, that is the crews or people who are working in a shipping industry, they should develop knowledge. The best example is they are conducting this STCW courses in the institutions or colleges. So they have to invest more on them to make, to fit the employees or to fit the labor to the changing technology. So here the cost is a question mark. Whether that country is able to meet that cost, or that the country is able to meet the technological changes, it talks about the cost. And these factors ought to be compensated by firm for their contribution in producing the commodity. And the compensation factor price is the cost. The compensation which what I'm investing is considered as a cost. And any shipping cost analysis, if you, that is if when you are going for this cost analysis for shipping industry, that means you are increasing the sales. It means that you are increasing the sales, and in the same way you are controlling the business expenses to step to maximize the profit. So if you want to maximize the profit by increasing the sales and by controlling the business expenses, you have to consider the cost analysis. that is why that is the answer for why we are going for this shipping cost analysis. See, if you have not analyzed your shipping cost, it might be good idea to evaluate not only your expenses for delivering of goods, but also the lowering shipping cost might not maintain the choosing of shipping methods. The cheapest option might you cost, it may leads to be sustained in the long run in the industry. Okay, so any shipping cost analysis you do, that is when you are going for analyzing the cost, what is the profit, what is the expenses we are made, what we are doing, how we could increases the profit and all. It actually it is needed for the shipping. And if you're receiving or if you are getting the product from one place to another, you have to consider some of the factors like what is the time of delivery, what is the speed of delivery of the product, or how far the product has been safeguarded from the damage, or how it is how you are able to tracking the product, or what is the scope of return of the product. Everything that is this is not only from the bottom line of customer service, but also it talks about the some of the cost you have incurred for that some of the cost you have incurred for that is incurred in that shipping industry. Okay, so in this session we will see what are the various cost incurred in shipping industry. First is these are all the sum of the cost, real cost, opportunity or alternative cost, or money cost, or explicit, we can say explicit or implicit cost, or else accounting and economic cost, and fixed and variable cost. So these are all the some of the cost what we have to consider when we go for this shipping industry cost. So first we'll discuss what is a real cost. Okay. Yes. See, the real cost is nothing but the cost which the cost that is real cost of production refers to the physical quantities of various factors used for producing the commodity. That means the cost which is incurred for manufacturing, the process of manufacturing manufacturing the commodity will comes under the real cost. Okay, so real cost signifies the aggregate of real productive resources observed in the production of commodity or the services is called the real cost. See, we can also say that what are all the effort we have taken when we are producing the commodity, or we can say in a different way, what are the sacrifices we have undergone in order to safeguard the society will also included in the real cost. That is, what effort, the cost I incurred for the effort taken and the cost I incurred for sacrificing the thing will come when I'm producing the commodity, that comes under real cost. That is both plus and minus of what I am facing when I am manufacturing the product will comes under this real cost. Okay, so the real cost is also so for different kinds of labor what I directly or indirectly involved. It also includes the kinds of labor I make involved when I'm producing the product will also used. And as I told, how much amount I am investing for molding that labor or the human resources to fit to my manufacturing processes will also comes under this real cost. And next we'll move on to the opportunity cost. The concept of opportunity cost is based on the scarcity and alternative applicability of the available resources. The real cost of production of something using a given resources if a benefit foregone of something by not by using the resources in a best alternative use. So to make it simple, what I want to say is the concept of opportunity cost is like the cost of production at any unit of commodity for the value of the factors of production is used. That is, I am going to like what to say, I'm going to balance what is the cost of production for unit, any unit of commodity for creating the values of production will comes under opportunity cost. That is, the opportunity cost in different way, I can say that the cost which is incurred for the best alternative use. See, all the resources will not be available or may not be available throughout the year or throughout the survival of the business. So what I am alternating, see, when I'm going for alternative product or alternative of resources, how much cost I am investing, whether I am investing more on the real cost or it is less out of the real cost in the way of creating the value. See, keep it in mind, the same value I have to create when I go for manufacturing the single unit of commodity, but this is happening because of alternative, choosing of alternatives. So, opportunity cost, see, it also depends upon some of the factors. See, in perfect competition, there will be the opportunity cost will be different. When there is a good employment opportunity, the full employment is available, then the economy will face the economy, the state of economy will be different. By the time the opportunity cost will also be different. Okay, so we have to consider as a manufacturer, we have to see to it what type of that is in what way we are going to choose the alternatives. And when we talk about this opportunity cost, some of some of we have, that is it will gives you, by going for this opportunity cost, it will explain the actual price of the current available resources, and also the exact cost or sacrifice cost of goods and services for the alternative commodity will be clearly seen when I am calculating, going for this calculating or evaluating the opportunity cost. Okay, so but we should be very clear in choosing the alternative. The some of the areas where we do mistakes in going for this choosing the alternative by making wrong assumptions, and money what we are investing for this alternatives will be considered more when we go for this what to say, opportunity cost. Okay, so opportunity cost or alternative cost in the value of resources in the foregone employment. So that is called alternative cost. Now we move on to the next type of cost, which is sunk cost. Okay, so sunk cost is nothing but the cost once incurred cannot be retrieved. That is, yes, of course, in business, we cannot get back by the way of output only getting the out. That is after seeing the profit only, I could able to get back the amount as a return on investment. But once, if it is a loss, I cannot retrieve. So it is associated with the commitment of fund to specialized equipment or facilities, which cannot be used for anything else in the present or future, is called sunk cost. Like, sunk cost. See, if I cannot get back, even I can say that making the wrong decision in choosing the technology may leads to loss. I cannot get back that amount what I invested. So that comes under the chunk cost. The chunk cost will vary from the chunk cost. See, chunk cost, it also depends upon the cost of purchasing of inventories. Inventories is nothing but the base or the stock, we can say. So on the whole, what they are telling is, when you are going for purchasing the things or deciding deciding the alternatives or deciding the resources, you should be very clear and you have to see to it whether you could able to get back the amount what you invested or not. If you could not able to get back the amount, bigger one, get back the amount back, that is called chunk cost. Okay, in general, if you could not get back the amount you invested, that is called sunk cost. And next we move on to the shutdown cost. Shutdown cost or cost which would be incurred when plant operation is suspended. Yes, best example is from today. Yes, if today all theaters and malls has been locked down, they are not supposed to open. It should remain closed. It was remain closed for 8 months. It is not easy to keep the machineries idle. They have to go for maintenance whether they are using or not. The maintenance cost which we are investing for the unused machinery will be considered as a sunk cost. See what we discussed before. See, for example, the sunk cost. This all theaters and all have been maintained for last 1 year, but there was no profit. They themselves know they could not able to make profit on investing the maintenance cost. But even though, in order to reduce the cost for scrap or for repair, they would have invested as a chunk cost. But shutdown cost, what happened is, again, what happened before this 1 or 2 months before, all this theater malls has been opened. Again, they have spent more money to get back the customers or to get back the environment again. But what happened? Suddenly, again, it was instructed to remain closed. So that is called shutdown cost. The amount which has been spent for planned operation, if the planned operation has been suspended, the amount which was invested for operating the plant is called as shutdown cost. Am I clear? And next is abandonment cost. Abandonment cost is nothing but the cost when there is a complete cessation of activities, and there is a problem of disposal of asset, then that is called amendment cost. That is, if I could not make the disposal of inventory also. See, inventory is also considered as asset. See, the asset, what is asset? Like whatever amount, that is whatever. See, whatever thing which I could make it as a profit, maybe converted as a profit, that will be considered as a asset. So if I have the problem of converting that asset, then that cost will come under this amendment cost. Okay, so in general, it is nothing but like like in case if you are investing more on the cost which is for the business venture, that all comes under this amendment cost. See, all this business ventures like any machines or any equipment, or removal of any equipment, or for cleaning of environmental things, or totally if you want to use a new things, or that is shifting the asset, everything will comes under abandonment cost. And next we move on to replacement and historical cost. See, historical cost means the cost of plant at a price originally paid for it. That is, I would have bought before 10 years. That machinery has been bought before 10 years. So the cost which I incurred, originally paid for that machinery, will come under this historical cost. The replacement cost is nothing but if the machinery, see, when you sell the machinery, we cannot get back the same amount what I invested, but maybe by depreciation, by calculating the depreciation only, you will go for this what to say, deciding the cost of the actual cost of the machinery. But you would have spent more amount on maintaining the machines or replacing the machines, everything. So when you are calculating the result, that is what to say, return on investment, you have to consider what is the historical cost of that machinery, what I'm getting back. What is the replacement cost of that machinery, what I'm getting back, whether it is balancing or not. In order, that is, this replacement cost and historical cost is evaluated in order to see the level of profit and when we are getting the return on investment. Just like that, I cannot say, see, for example, I cannot say I got 50,000 of profit. How much you invested for that purchasing of machineries has to be considered, and what is the maintenance charges you incurred for that machinery has to be considered. Based upon that only, you have to calculate the return on investment. So to calculate the result, return on investment and profit, this historical and replacement cost will be considered. And next is economic cost. See, economic cost, the implicit cost or direct, see, we have two types of cost, implicit cost and explicit cost. In that, implicit cost or direct cost, first we'll see. Yes, first we'll see what is explicit cost. That is the cost which refers to all those expenses made by the firm to purchase the goods directly. See, for example, some of the direct investments like purchase of raw materials, and investing for the what to say, power or wages or salary or the transportation cost, the amount you are investing for the fuel, for the power and for the advertisements, everything, whatever you are doing for that particular product will comes under explicit charge, explicit cost. That is explicit cost or direct cost, that is direct investment, what I'm meaning, contractually monetary payment incurred through market transaction. So it is usually shown in accounting statement and include cost of raw materials, wages and salaries, power and fuel, rent, interest, payment of capital invested, insurances, taxes and duties, and all other miscellaneous expenses like transport, advertisement, sales, promotion expenses, everything will come under explicit cost. So what they're telling us, if whatever amount you are investing, that is able to, that you could able to reflect it on accounting statement, that all comes under explicit charge, which leads, which this monetary transactions will comes under that, that is called explicit cost, which can be noticed, the cost which can be identified and noticed and reflected in the accounting statement, that is called explicit charge. Then its implicit charge is quite opposite to explicit charge. That is implicit charge cost or the opportunity cost of the use of factors which a firm does not buy or hire but already owns. See, for example, the cost, implicit cost include wages of labor rendered by entrepreneurship himself, interest on capital supplied by him, rent of land and premises owned by the entrepreneur and used for the production. That is, on the whole, the implicit cost or the value of entrepreneurs' own resources and services. That is, to maintain, that is the contribution of the product is different, but maintaining of land and making all other resources, paying interest, see, paying interest of capital and rent for his land and all, it is an unnoticed. These costs which is unnoticed, which is not included in the manufacturings of this goods and services, will be considered as a implicit cost. So whenever we talk about, whenever we are calculating the economic cost, we have to deduct the implicit cost with the explicit cost. So the formula for calculating this economic cost, we can say explicit cost minus implicit cost. Okay, and next we move on to the fixed cost. Excuse me. Now, we move on to the fixed cost. What are the other types of cost? Fixed cost. The name itself, it shows it explains that cost which has been fixed, that is not changing in nature. It will be fixed for the throughout the year or throughout the survival of business, like that. That is called fixed cost. So fixed cost are those costs which are incurred as a result of use of fixed factor of input. That is, it does not make any changes. It won't increases or decreases. So that is called fixed cost. So they remain fixed at any level of output. While engaging in productive activity, the producer always has to incur some expenditure which remains fixed whatever the level of production. See, I would like to say that the fixed cost, that is actually there are, when we are running a company, there are two types of cost basically. the fixed cost and variable cost. Fixed cost or keep on, that is, it will be fixed. It won't change by month wise. See, for example, rent, what we are paying for the land or the place where we are working, or the salary paid will not be changed. Maybe changes may taken place after 1 year, every year or every 2 years once. That is fixed. It won't make any changes in manufacturing of a unit. So that comes under fixed cost. See, here they have given some examples of a fixed cost. Like it remains fixed, it won't change its size or amount of fixed employed, by which include payment of rent of building. As I told, this month I'm paying 50,000. Next month also I'm going to pay same 50,000. This fixed cost, whether the number of whatever number of unit I'm producing in that building, maybe the 10 unit or 100 unit or 1,000 unit, that is not a matter. The amount what I am paying for that building or machinery will be remain fixed. And interest on capital. The amount, capital is nothing but amount I have invested. If I invested, if I have borrowed any amount, the interest to be paid this month, like EMI, whatever income it may be, this month you may have 10,000 rupees of loss of pay, but bank won't bother about that. Every month, if you are supposed to pay 15,000 of EMI, that is fixed for all the month. Whether you have the job or not, whether you have income or not, they won't bother at all. It is fixed for throughout the year. So interest on capital or the insurance what you are paying, that will be fixed. And the depreciation and the maintenance allowances every month or every 6 months maintenance. When we talk about this maintenance, if every 6 months we are going for maintenance, see, it is like two-wheeler service. 400 rupees for every 6 months I have to give my two-wheeler for services. So that is fixed. So all this administration cost and business license fees, everything will come under fixed cost, where it remains fixed. And this variable cost is quite opposite to the fixed cost, that those costs that are incurred by the firm as a result of use of variable factor inputs. They are dependent on the levels of levels of output. See, the cost or the expenses that makes the changes, that may be the proportional change when you are going for the manufacturing of goods and the production of output, that comes under this variable cost. That is, this variable cost may be increase or decrease depending upon the volume of production the company is going for. See, if they rise in production increases, the fall of production decreases. That is, and the see, when the production increases, the variable cost increases. When the production decreases, the variable cost also decreases. It depends upon, that is, the cost which is incurred will affect the each and every unit of the manufacturing of production. That comes under. See, for example, I'm telling, if you want to make a cake or food, if you are preparing the food for 2 people, the cost will be different. If you are preparing food for 20 people, the cost will be different. The cost you incurred for the input will be different. So the number of unit of production increases, the cost what you are investing for the raw materials or any other factor will also increases. See, that is called variable cost. If production increases and like what to say, cost also increases, that comes under variable cost. So the prices of raw materials, the wages paid for the labor. Yes, of course, if I'm cooking for 2 people, I don't want any assistant. But if I'm cooking for 200 people, I want more labor. So the unit for 2, the labor cost for unit 2 will be different. The labor cost for 200 will be different. So the wages paid for labor will also included. See, on the whole, what they're telling us, if any changes takes place with the number of unit of production and uh, and the output given, that cost comes under this variable cost. Am I clear? Yes, now we move on to the next topic, elasticity of demand. See, first we'll see what is elasticity of demand. See, when we talk about elasticity of demand, there are 2 types of elasticity of demand. One is price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of demand and price elasticity of supply. See, there are 2 types of elasticity of demand. Okay, first we move on to price elasticity of demand. The changes of a quantity demanded for the product due to changes in its price is known as price elasticity of demand. As I told, like when I start the class, I told you that if price increases, that is the demand of the product will be decided based upon the price. If price increases, the demand will decreases, right? If the price decreases, the demand of the product will increases. So this is the relation between the price and the demand. That is how it got extended or it's cruised. It highly depends upon the elasticity of demand. Thus, the sensitiveness of the responsiveness of demand to change in price is called the elasticity of demand. If any reflection towards the price and the demand, that comes under the elasticity of demand. So always, I would like to say, always the demand curve, when we talk about the price and the demand and the price of the product and elasticity of the demand, this quantity purchase, the demand curve will always slopes downwards. If price increases, the curve will goes down. The curve will goes down. It won't rise up. The curve will goes down. If the price increases, the demand of the product will decreases. Okay, so there are various types of elasticity of a demand. First is some of the types are perfectly elastic demand, relatively elastic demand, elasticity of demand equal to utility, relatively inelastic demand, that is relatively elastic demand, relatively inelastic demand, and perfectly elastic demand and perfectly inelastic demand. Okay, so these are all the some of the types of elasticity of demand. That is perfectly elastic and inelastic 2 types, relatively elastic and inelastic and 2 types, and the equilibrium when it will comes under equality of equal of utility, both the this elastic and inelastic, then we will call it as elasticity of demand equal to utility. Okay. Then now we will see what is perfectly elasticity of demand. When the demand for the product changes or increases, even when there is no change in price, is known as perfectly elastic demand. That is, when a light changes in prices causes a great changes in quantity of demanded, and the value of elasticity of demand or tends to be maybe infinity. It is called perfect elasticity of demand. See, sometimes it may be because of some other reason. There may not be any big changes on price. First, when we start talking about elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand, we discussed that any changes in price will reflect on demand. Price increases, demand decreases. Price decreases, demand increases. But that will not only be the case. Sometimes the demand fluctuations will take place without having any fluctuations of price. There may not be no changes in the price, maybe any other reason that because of the competitor's product. Your product price may not be changed, but any changes in the competitor product will affect the elasticity of demand for your product. See, I may have my own price for my product, but my competitor product may have some discount or offers. So suddenly my customers will shift to my competitor product. So this may be the reason for having the perfectly elastic demand. And next is relatively elastic demand. See, if you see the curve, the demand curve in perfectly elastic demand, the demand curve will be in a straight line. Okay, but in the case of relative elastic demand, when the proportionate change in demand is more than proportionate change in price, it's known as relatively elastic demand. That is, see, if change of if the price increases, if you see here, the price increases, the demand curve is getting down. It's this curve is streaking down. If the price of the product increases, the demand curve is here. If price increases, the demand of the product, it keeps on moving down. Okay, so here, if the price increases, the demand curve will, if there is a slight changes, any proportionate changes taken place with the demand and the price, then that is considered as the relatively elastic demand. Am I clear? Then now next type of demand is elasticity of demand equal to utility. Elasticity of demand equal to utility. What it means? That is when the proportionate change, excuse me, when the proportionate change in demand is equal to proportionate change in price, that is called, that is, if no changes in price, no changes in demand, that is called perfectly elastic demand. Any small changes in price, but more changes in demand, that is relatively elasticity of demand. But when the proportionate change are equal, if the demand is changing at the same level, the price is changing at the same level, the demand is also changing, that is called unitary elastic demand. Okay, fine. So next type of demand curve will be relatively inelastic demand. See, when the proportionate change in demand is less than proportionate change in price, it's known as relatively inelastic. That is, small changes, and see, if you see, could you able to make the difference between, I'll show you the difference. See, straight line. This perfectly elastic demand is on straight line. Then relatively elasticity demand is not straight, but some it is little bit slanted. Relatively elastic demand, that is small changes, it's a little bit change, a little bit. But in the case of elasticity equal to utility, the gradual, that is, it is slowly going down. But in the case of relatively inelastic, where I could not bear this change, it is too streak. It suddenly is coming down. That is called relatively inelastic demand. And next is perfectly inelastic demand. It is straight. When the changes in price, however, change, there no changes in quantity, demand is known as perfectly inelastic. The same what we have seen in perfectly elastic, the perfectly inelastic demand curve will also be like this. But in the case of perfectly elastic, it will go vertical. From the case of perfectly inelastic, it will go horizontal. Okay. So that's all. With types of elasticity of demand. Now 10:15, we'll take 5 minutes of break, and then we'll start with what are the factors affecting the price elasticity of demand. We'll go for 5 minutes of break. Okay, welcome back. Now we have discussed what is elasticity of demand in price. What are the types of price elasticity of demand? 5 types of price elasticity of demand. To make it, to have more clearance on this topic, I would like to share a video related to elasticity of demand. We'll just watch it as just 8 to 9 minutes of video. We'll just watch out to have a more clearance on what we discussed.
Suddenly decided to increase their prices by 20%. Would you continue? Now, we'll buy.
Did I share the video, ma? Is audio and video is clear?
Yeah, it's clear, ma'am.
Is voice is clear, ma?
Yeah, it's clear.
Yes, ma. Thank you.
Lots of different products and services. But to what extent it's called the price elasticity of demand.
It got stuck, ma'am.
Yes, what happened?
Yeah, it's now okay.
What about Apple?
Yeah, earlier it's got stuck.
Like me.
Okay.
Pay whatever price Apple decides.
Yeah, again it's got stuck.
Again, it got stuck. Now is it okay?
About elasticity.
Yeah, now it's okay.
Maybe.
Okay.
Okay, I kept you on mute.
Demand is to a change in a variable. Typically, we look at 2 variables. One is price, which is the subject of this video, and the other is income, which we'll look at in a separate video. So elasticity is all about the sensitivity or the responsiveness of demand to a change in a variable. And price elasticity of demand measures the extent to which the quantity demanded changes in response to a change in price. When we calculate price elasticity of demand, we're going to have to be comfortable with the concept of percentage changes. And the reason for this is that price elasticity, or as it's commonly shortened to PED, is calculated by dividing one percentage change by another. We calculate the percentage change in the quantity demanded, and we divide it by the percentage change in price. So PED is the percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. What we'll do now is we'll have a look at an example of that just to show you the calculations and consider the implications. So let's look at a simple example. We've got a product here, product X, and originally at the price of £4 per unit, the quantity demanded was 1,000 units. Now what happens when we change the price? Well, in this case, we have changed the price from £4 to £5. The price has increased. And what's happened as a result of the price increase is that the quantity demanded has fallen. It's fallen from 1,000 units to 800 units. In order to calculate the price elasticity of demand, we need to calculate the percentage changes in demand and the percentage changes in price. So let's look at demand first. Demand has fallen. It's fallen by 200 units, expressed as a percentage of the original demand, which was 1,000. 200 divided by 1,000 times by 100, that is a fall of 20%. A 20% fall in demand. What's happened to price? Price has risen by £1. Originally it was £4. So the change in the pound expressed as the original price of £1 divided by £4, price has increased by 25%, if you work that calculation out. So we have the data that we can use to calculate PED. Fall in demand of 20% as a result of an increase in price of 25%. So let's work the numbers. There they are on the screen. A fall in demand of 20, our increase in price of 25. We know that PED is calculated as a percentage change in quantity demanded divided by the percentage change in price. We don't have to worry too much about the positives and negatives here. It's just about calculating the percentage changes. If we divide one by the other, we get 0.8 or minus 0.8 if you clean the negative. But the important point is in this calculation, the elasticity of demand based on price, the PED is 0.8. Now, how do you interpret that? What does 0.8 mean? Well, this is a really useful table to remember and to consider as you calculate different price elasticities. A product is said to be price elastic if, when you calculate PED, it's more than 1. Ignoring the minus sign, it's more than 1. And what this means is that if PED is more than 1, the change in demand is going to be higher than the change in price. Conversely, if PED is less than 1, then the change in demand, percentage change in demand, is less than the percentage change in price. And if we have what's known as unitary price elasticity, where when we calculate PED, it's exactly 1, it means that the change in price and the change in demand, both those two percentages are the same. Now, those PEDs have some quite important implications for businesses, and that's why it's important for businesses to understand what their price elasticity is. For example, if PED is more than 1, then if you increase the price and demand changes, in this case falls by more than the increase in price, that would have the effect of overall cutting your revenues. The change in demand is more than the increase in the price you're using. Conversely, for an inelastic product where PED is less than 1, if, for example, you increase the price by 10%, the change in demand will be less than 10%. So therefore, over most ranges of that price changes, you should expect revenues to increase. But of course, it won't always happen. There'll come a point at which a price inelastic product becomes elastic because the price is simply too high. So that's how we calculate PED. One of the important things is just to remember some of the factors that influence the extent to which a product has an elastic or an inelastic price elasticity. For example, what we tend to find is that products that have strong loyalty, particularly heavily branded, strong branded products, strong reputations, tend to be price inelastic. The business can raise the price, but actually the fall in demand will not be anywhere near as significant because the customers remain loyal to the product. Similarly, a price inelastic product that is really a necessity, something you have to have. Again, the demand doesn't change as much as the change in price because we simply have to have it. And same too for products and services that we consume as a matter of habit. However, However, products that have lots of different alternatives or substitutes, where it's easier to switch to a better priced product, they tend to have a higher price elasticity. They tend to be also known as price elastic. So let's just look at a couple of examples of those products that have elastic demand, i.e. more than one, and tend to be products where there are lots of alternatives and it's easier to switch. So if Cadbury Twirl increases prices by 20%, chances are I'd be looking for an alternative, maybe a Twix, maybe a Mars bar. Similarly, if Hovis bread increased its prices by 30%, I'd be straight into the aisle where Warburton's or Tesco's or Waitrose own brand bread was on display, and I'd be looking for a slightly cheaper alternative, unless I was so loyal to Hovis that I accepted whatever price they charged. And the same thing with newspapers. That's why often you find newspapers engaged in price wars, because customers are very sensitive to the price that they're paying for their daily news. But there are loads of examples out there where actually the demand is price inelastic. We mentioned habits. So, of course, those consumers who are habitual consumers of products like tobacco are pretty inelastic. Their demand is pretty inelastic, regardless of what the government do in terms of the taxes that are placed on cigarettes. Similarly, if you simply have to get from Felixstowe to London each day, or you have to have a season ticket, there's not a lot you can do when the price of the season ticket goes up. The chances are you're still going to demand it. Or if you've got products that you simply can't do without in the leisure sector, so maybe your monthly Sky or BT Sports subscription. Or if you absolutely have to have a season ticket to go watch Man United or Harrogate Town. Again, those are products, price inelastic. You'll take whatever price the club decide to charge, unless there's a point at which you say, no, that's too much. So what we've done there is we've done provided a brief introduction to this concept called price elasticity of demand. Don't forget, the key is to calculate it by calculating the percentage changes in quantity demand and the percentage change in price, and then seeing whether that elasticity is more or less than 1.
Yes. Now, by looking at this video, I think it may be very clear by relating the elasticity of demand, price elasticity of demand with various products. So it will be more effective by looking at the video. Fine. Now we move on to the next topic. What are the factors affecting the price elasticity of demand? Now we have discussed what is price elasticity of demand and what are the types of price elasticity of demand. Now we'll discuss what are the factors affecting the price elasticity of demand. See, these are all the factors. Nature of commodity, availability of, yes, nature of commodity, since it depends upon the types of product. If it should be required throughout the year, if it is required, and whatever if it is a very the product which is essential for the day-to-day survival of the business or of the life, whatever it may be, whatever price we won't bother about the price, whether it is increases or decreases, we will purchase it. Best example where you can easily understand the price of the onion or tomato, sometimes it go out of the roof. Whatever price it may be, we won't stop purchasing that product where it is very essential for cooking, for day-to-day activity. We will spend more amount and we will purchase that. So it is a nature of a commodity. And the availability of a substitute. If it is onion and tomatoes, we cannot substitute. But in the case of any other vegetables, we will shift from one vegetable to any other vegetable. If the prices of if the prices of one vegetable is too high, then I can go for opting any other product. Okay, so it depends upon the availability of substitute product, and variety of uses of commodity. See, like if you have so many, as I told, if you have the options of more for the alternators, we can choose this or that. But if there is no option, and especially in the case of monopoly market and all, you may not have any other option for substitute. In that type of market and all, this price elasticity of demand will get affected more. And postponement. If you are able to postpone the purchase of that commodity, then the price elasticity may not be happen. If you could not make it where you don't have any option to postpone it, then the price elasticity of demand will take place. And influences of habits, definitely it plays a major role. Sometimes we people are addicted towards some habits of taking food or using some, see, whatever price it may be, some people, they won't shift on, they won't prefer any mode of transport. When they want to transport, that is want to have a trade, they, if they would like to go for this shipping trade, they won't move on to any other train or flight mode. They won't opt that opt that option itself. So it's the habit of the individual will also influence the price elasticity of demand. And the proportion of income spent on the commodity is also affects the elasticity of demand. See, my income is low, but the amount I am investing is high, then there will be changes. But if there is no much differences with what I am getting and how much amount I am spending, definitely it won't reflect on the price elasticity of demand. And ranges of prices is also matters. As yes, this is very obvious. This we are discussing from the beginning. Any changes in prices range, if if it is just 1 or 2 rupees of difference, okay, we'll purchase. And that too, 1 or 2 rupees of changes for 1 or 2 commodity, that is okay. If I'm making order on bulk of 1,000 unit or 10,000 unit, that 1 rupee and 1 rupee or 2 rupee will matters me a lot. Okay, so the range of price is also very important when I'm talking about the price elasticity of demand. So these are and other is income group. It also depends upon the income level of the individual. If my income is too good, whatever price increases, I won't bother. I will spend, I'm ready to spend on that commodity. Okay, and element of time. Yes, of course, time matters a lot. Like at what time they are introducing, what is the economical status, what is the situation, it also very important. And this also, this income group and the pattern of income distribution. And when we talk about this pattern of income distribution, it I would like to say that it also talks about the types of family setup also. See, for example, for individual nuclear family, if it is individual nuclear family, the income distribution will be less. But in the case of joint family, the income distribution will be more. So any price changes for the nuclear family will be different, and for the joint family will be different. So the pattern of income distribution also matters when we go for elasticity of demand of the product, which is related to the price. That's all with price elasticity of demand. Then we move on to the elasticity of supply. So far, we have seen price elasticity of demand. Now we will move on to price elasticity of supply. See, this law tells us that producers will respond to a price drop by producing less. but it does not tell that how much is less. The degree of sensitivity of producers to change in price is measured as a concept of change in elasticity of supply. Okay, that is the now in elasticity of supply, that is the producer is responding towards the changes of price. Okay, and this law also states that there is a direct relationship between the quantity of the commodity supplied with the quantity of the price. That is the price of the commodity, not quantity of the price of the commodity. That is, if the price is too high, the supply of that commodity will goes down, because the demand of that product will also be in lesser level. So there is a direct relation between the quantity of the commodity supplied and the price of the commodity. Okay, so we can express the enormous changes when changes when we plan to supply the commodity, when there is a change of price. See, price elasticity of supply is a percentage change in quantity supplied resulting from percentage change in price. Yes, of course, but what they are telling us, this percentage change in supply is not depends upon, it is because of change in price of the commodity. Okay. So it is a measure of how much the quantity supply of good responds to the change in price of that good. So the formula for that price elasticity, the finding out the price elasticity of supply is percentage change in quantity of supply with the percentage change in price. Yes, as I told, it is depends upon the change in price. So this is the calculation which have been made for a change in price and the change in quality. And there are as like elasticity of demand. We have various types of elasticity of supply also. In that, the first is perfectly inelastic supply, where a service or the commodity as a perfectly inelastic to the supply. Okay, whatever the price may be, there may be not much change in a supply. Price also, if increases, they never stop supplying. They keep on supplying, where it means there was no change in demand. It means that there was no change in demand. So in the case of a perfectly inelastic demand, there will be the perfectly inelastic supply also. Where in the case of inelastic demand, the same graph shows that the perfect line, that horizontal line will be there, where the perfect lines we could able to get perfect curve. That is called perfectly inelastic demand. But if you see, increase in price leaves the quantity supply is unchanged. But in the case of inelastic supply, if any changes in price, that is a 22% of increase in price, it leads to 10% increase in quantity, If you see, the price increases, the supply will also increases the quantity. So this is inelastic supply. Next is unit elastic demand, where 25% of increase in size and 25% of increases in quantity. If you look at this is not quite normal. This is not a normal curve. But in the case of this level, unit elasticity, where 25% increase and 25% increase in quantity and price, with this unit elasticity, the price and the quantity supplied will goes in a normal curve. But in the case of elasticity supply is greater than, see, for example, 22% increase in price leads to 67 increase in quantity. There is a much difference between here. See, if you see the space, if if you see the space from here, the distance between this area, that is 100 to 167, it is little bit bigger in the case of elastic. There is a much difference in price and the quantity supply. So these are all the some of the variety of supply curve. Again, I repeating. Again, I'm repeating, in perfectly inelastic supply, there will be the equal level will be there. Okay, the price and the supply will be go normal curve. But in the case of inelastic, where 22 and 10%, this will be little bit in larger size. But in the same case of elastic also, it will be in larger size of 10 and 100 and 167. But in the case of unit elasticity curve, 10% increase in price and 10% increase in quantity will be taken place. Okay, so that's all with elasticity of supply. So to have some example related to this, I would like to share a video for elasticity of supply. Just a minute, I'll just share the video for elasticity of supply.
Demand, so you were probably
Guys, audio
wondering,
and video.
can we think about elasticities of
Have you got the video? Is the voice is good enough?
supply? We've been talking a lot about elasticities of demand, so you were probably wondering, can we think about elasticities of supply? And as you can imagine, the answer is, of course we can. And it's interesting to think about, how does the quantity, the percent change in quantity supplied, relate to percent change in prices? So for example, let's say we have a lemonade stand of some sort. So this is price on that axis, that is quantity on that axis. And let's say that our supply curve looks something like that. Obviously, the higher the price, the more quantity we're willing to supply. And let's say at a price of $1, the quantity supplied is going to be 10, and this is going to be in gallons per week. So the quantity supplied is going to be 10 gallons per week. And let's say that if the price goes to $2, so when the price goes to $2, the quantity supplied goes to 16 gallons per week. So what is the elasticity of supply roughly over this period right over here? So the elasticity of supply, and you can imagine how we're going to calculate it. It's going to be the percent change in quantity supplied over our percent change in price. So what is our percent change in price? Well, we went from $1 to $2. So this part right over here is going to be, we went up by $1. So we went up by $1 per gallon. So it's going to be up by $1. And we don't use our starting point as our base like we would do when we're traditionally finding a percent change, because we want to have the same percent change whether we go from 1 to 2 as from 2 to 1. So instead, the convention when we think about elasticities is use the midpoint of these two, or use the average of these two. So 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5. So it's 1 over $1.50, or you could say $1.50 is right in between these two things. And 1 over $1.50, this is 67% roughly. So this is approximately 67. We have approximately a 67% change in price based on how we just calculated. Remember, we're using the midpoint as our base. And then our percent change in quantity supplied, that's this, so this right over here, we went from 10 to 16, so we had plus 6, over a base of, midpoint between 10 and 16 is 13. 10 plus 6 is 26, divided by 2 is 13. 6 over 13, which is going to be 40-something%. Get a calculator out. So we have 6 divided by 13 gives us 46%. So this right over here is 46%. So we have, when we had, based on the way we calculated, a 67% increase in price, we had a 46% increase in quantity supplied. So this is a 46% increase in quantity supplied. And so we can see it's going to be our elasticity of supply is going to be 46% over 67%. So it's going to be something less than 1. We can get, so that's going to be that divided by it's actually 0.6666. It keeps going on forever. Gives us to 0.69. So this gives us an elasticity of supply of 0.69, or maybe I can say it approximately 0.69, which tells us that we get a smaller percent, at least at this price point right over here, we get a smaller percent change in quantity supplied than our percent change in price. Now let's think about, like we did with when we thought about the elasticities of demand, let's think about different scenarios. So let's think about a scenario that is inelastic, that is maybe perfectly inelastic. So let's say that price, and quantity. So let's take me, for example. I make videos. I love making videos. This is what I want to spend my days doing, and I don't care how much you pay me or how little you pay me. I guess if you paid me enough, that would maybe I'd spend even a little bit more time making videos. But let's just assume that I don't. I'm completely, whether you pay me a penny a video or $0 per video, or whether you pay me $1,000 per video, I'm going to just make the same number of videos every day. So this right over here is videos per day on average, and this is the price per video. And let's say no matter how much you pay me, whether you pay me nothing or you pay me $1,000, I am just going to produce on average, let's just say 3 videos a day. So then you have this right over here. You have a perfectly inelastic supply curve. So this is perfectly inelastic supply curve. Now, you could have the other scenario. You could have the other scenario where you are a farmer. So let me do price and quantity. Now you have the other scenario where you're a farmer, and you can either do crop A or crop B. Maybe it's corn and wheat, and you can easily swap between the two. And let's just assume for simplicity it costs you the exact same to produce one or the other. So in that situation, so let's say that the price of wheat and let's say we're using comparable units. So the price of wheat is, for adjusting for units and all of that, let's say it's $10, I don't know, per bushel or something like that. We just want to simplify it for the sake of our model right over here. But this right over here, we're thinking about the corn. And so if let's say corn is right at $10, and right at $10, when they're both at $10, I will produce, so let me make this clear. So price of corn is $10, and the quantity of corn, maybe, I don't know, I produce 2,000 bushels. And I know these prices are way off for what the real price per bushel of corn or wheat is. And same thing, my quantity for wheat right here is 2,000. Now, if the price of corn were to go marginally up, so let me put this. So this is our graph for corn. So this is $10, and this is 2,000 bushels per year or something. So let's say that's where we are right over there. Now, if the price for corn goes marginally up, if the price for corn goes up to even $10.05 per bushel, all of a sudden I'm going to shift all my wheat production to corn production. So this is going to go to 0, and then this is going to go to 4,000. So then we're going to go, so just 10.05, we're going to go all the way to 4,000. And likewise, if this price were to go down, if this were to go to like $9.95, I would shift all my production to wheat and I wouldn't produce any corn. And so there you see that we have a the demand curve is getting very flat. And you can see, based on very, very small percent changes in prices, I have very large percent changes in quantity supplied. So this right over here is approaching, this is approaching perfect elasticity. Huge changes in quantity supplied, elasticity, for small percent changes in price. Now, the cool thing about elasticity of supply is it's actually much easier to make a curve that has unit elasticity, or even if you want to think about it, constant elasticity. But if you want to have unit elasticity, the easiest curve I can draw for unit elasticity is going to look like this. Well, actually, this is the curve for unit elasticity. It will literally be a curve that looks like that. And the reason why it works in this case is because it's upward sloping. As price increases, so does quantity increase for the supply curve. So at any point here, the two are going to be proportional. So a given change in quantity and a given change in price, they're going to represent the same percentages. Because as price is increasing, when you have large price, or when you have medium price, you have medium quantity. When you have large price, you have large quantity. So these steps are going to be the same percentage of either one of them. When you have small prices, you have small quantities. And so it's much easier to construct a curve, a supply curve that has unit elasticity than it is to construct a normal demand curve that has unit elasticity.
So now through this video, I think you are very clear in the calculation of price elasticity of supply. Now you are very clear in what is demand, what is supply, what are the factors affecting, and what is elasticity of demand, and how far it is reflected towards the business cycle, and what is the role business cycle in economies, why we are doing all these things, and how far it will be helpful for the survival of the shipping industry. And next, last and final topic what we are going to discuss is marine forecasting. It is maritime forecasting. Yes, fine. So forecasting will be done in all the types of business. Whenever you are doing the business, you have to forecast the future. Forecasting is nothing but predicting the future. And when you are predicting the future, some of the factors has to be concentrated more. And these are all the factors, whatever we have discussed in today's class, it is a very important factors to be considered when you are going for forecasting the maritime industries, that is the shipping industries. Okay, so what you are forecasting? You are forecasting the what will be the demand in future, how there should be the supply in future, and how will be the market, and what are the problems the market may face, what are the problems the industry may face, in case of any answer, what are the uncertainties available in the business, doing the business, and how we are going to meet that uncertainties, how we are going to select the alternatives, and how we are going to predict the risk, how we are going to prioritize the risk or uncertainties, what are the tools to be used. All these things will come under this maritime forecast. Whatever whatever process it may be related to the forecasting, we should have the systematic way of doing the forecasting process. So when I talk about the systematic, there are some of the tools available, some of the principles available when we go for this maritime forecast. So what is maritime forecast? It is nothing but it is an economic assumption, like what will be the GDP rate and what will be the cost in future. Everything will be, it is an economic assumption. When we talk about this economic assumption, we can also include the topic of demand and supply also. So what are the things to be forecasted? Economy should be to be forecasted, and this how this seaborne trade forecasted to be done. That is during that particular period of time, how will be the this seaborne trade will be there. That has to be forecasted, and this will shows this seaborne trade forecasting will shows the relationship between the sea trade and the industrial production. What is the level of industrial availability and what is the industrial that is a trade we could able to make in a sea. So that will be done. And also what are the vessels are available, how far this ships are demanded, how far that is how the ships are demanded is also very important. Ships are demanded is okay. What is the availability of merchant fleet to be forecasted? See, some of the industries, some of the commodities will be highly depend on this sea transport only, where that company's supply will be decided depends upon the availability of merchant fleet. Even though the commodity is demanded high in other countries, based upon the availability of merchant fleet only, they could able to decide the supply. So that will be done by going for this ship demand forecast and ship fleet forecast. So then ship productivity forecast, merchant fleet is available and how far they are efficient, what efficiency they have when they are manufacturing, that is efficiency they have towards their productivity will is also important. Okay, and next is we have to, that is as I told, we have to decide the shipping supply depends upon the availability of the shipping productivity, management fleet, everything. And by forecasting all these things only, we should have a balance between the supply and demand. As I clearly told that based upon the supply, that is based upon the availability of the shipborne or average hull and fleet management only, even though the product is demanded, even based upon this only, the demand may be created. Sometimes, as I told earlier, we can also create a demand of the product. So the balance between all these things can be happen only by going for this maritime forecasting. And we have some problems when we go for this forecasting work. Why? What are the problem? Sometimes our prediction may be like incorrect way of specifications can be made when we go for predicting. And sometimes what happens is by getting too much of detail, we ourselves will predict that this may happen, which actually may not happen. That is attempting the predict which is unpredictable. Okay, so that will happen by forecasting too much, that is conducting research about too much research about that issue will create this problem. And just like that, I cannot say this will be the supply, this will be the demand. I cannot say I can go for assumption. I should have some, as I told, I should follow some tools. Some techniques has to be followed. See, if I am conducting, if I am running a for the business, Of course, I myself, if I'm very good in predicting the market, I myself can do it. Or else I have to go for getting the expertise opinion. See, these are all the some of the techniques, expertise opinion. See, I cannot be good enough in all the areas when I'm doing the business. I may be good in predicting the market, but I may not be able to predict the economy, where everything has to be considered when I go for just predicting the maritime industries. Or else I can go for this opinion force by conducting the marketing research. See, even the small scale business, if you want to run a small scale business itself, we have to go for conducting the marketing research. Even not only to run the business, if you would like to expand, as we discussed earlier, the management fleet can expand or introduce a new things for meeting the competition. Again, just like that, they cannot do that. They have to conduct the market research to find out what is the actual wants and needs of the customer. So that opinion polls through this conducting opinion polls from maybe either from the colleagues, or either from the experts, and or either from the customers, they can get the opinion of doing the new things. Based upon that, some changes or the prediction may be taken. And they can go for this benchmarking also, in order to know that whether they are good or not, whether they need to improve or not, when in the case of marketing research. And another type of, there is another techniques what we can use for maritime forecasting is survey of spending plans. Yes, I can conduct a surveys. See, surveys maybe by maybe what we discussed in research methodology. This is these are all the one of the way. This expert opinion, opinion polls, survey and all. It is one of the way of collecting the data or conducting the research. So here the influence of this research methodology is coming in when we are talking about maritime forecasting. So this is a role of research in forecasting. So surveys, set of questions, what you would like to change, whether you are happy with the existing services, in what way we can develop, if you accept, if we made these changes. All these questions will be circulated to the number of customers by number of sample population, and after that they will come to the conclusion. And next is a economic indicator. Yes, of course, by actual projections of ups and downs in the economic status we are projecting. And nowadays, this is the best example. Nowadays, in this pandemic situation, and one thing, whatever situation it may be, this shipping and logistics industries is not going down. It is booming up, because the need of the shipping services is more, especially in this during this situation. So prediction of the economic indicator and projection of economic stages or economic status plays a major role when we go for this maritime forecasting. So on the whole, if you want to shine in this maritime industry, shipping industry, you have to be very clear with all these concepts which is related to the economy. Business is not like sitting in one room or sitting in one organization and just going for this manufacturing processes. It is not like that. Most there's external factors. There are two types of factors: internal factors and external factors. Whatever we have discussed so far in economics, macroeconomics, that too in macroeconomics, all these external factors will get involved. As I told on the first session itself, these external factors are uncontrollable by the organization. They can react towards that economic, that is macroeconomical factors, but they cannot have a control towards it. So in order to meet the economical changes and also for the survival of the business, we have to consider all these economic concepts. We have to be familiar with what is uh, demand, what is supply, what are the types of cost, when to invest, which type of cost has to be increased, which type of cost to be decreased, when to release the market, when to react more. Everything we have to be very familiar with that. So with the help of all these concepts which is related to the economics will help for you for the survival of the business. So that's all with the topics in maritime economics. We'll come to the end. We have come to the end of the session. So you can raise a question if you have any doubts. If you want to raise any questions, you can. We are about to end the session. So if you have anything to ask, you are feel free. You can feel free to ask any questions. I don't know how to consider the silence. Okay, fine. Anyway, thank you so much. Thank you so much for all of your cooperation for both the subjects, both the research methodology and maritime economics. And regarding this, just a minute. Okay, so guys.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you have sent it for this global academy, madam, education trust.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have sent you to that global. That is what to say. This
Global education trust.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, madam.
Something.
Okay,
For
madam.
both the subject, I have sent all my PPTs. You can get it from them.
Okay, madam. Thanks,
Okay.
madam.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of your cooperation. Again, I'm asking if you have any questions for me, you can raise.
Ma'am, kindly if you share your mail ID, if there is any doubt, we can share it up to you, madam.
Yes, I don't mind sharing my mail ID, rajapriya.m19@gmail.com. rajapriya.m19@gmail.com. RAJAPRIYA.M for man. M.
Okay. Okay.
M1919@gmail.com.
Sure, madam. Thanks for your wonderful session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
Student, please make sure that everybody have given attendance in the chat box. I'm going to end the session. Make sure that everybody have given attendance in the chat box. Fine, I'll end the session.